Israel. For so many, you are a foreign fable, just characters from the book like Cain and Abel, a far-off holy land with infinite labels. A million portrayals are shaped from the cradles and narratives crisscross that only enable more division when people need to come to the table. I'm no poet, no zealot, no historian, but I want to get my story in to keep myself stable. Because this land of pivotal importance and biblical proportions has seen too many negative endorsements with cynical distortions. An unknown in a region that's like Game of Thrones, to which all who inhabit stake a claim as their own. And all are correct when you really dissect it. All are connected to the land that's affected. For humanity's sake, let's grant more respect so that we can all try to better protect it. A place of warships and worship of so many faiths, equal parts praying and feeling betrayed, of miracles and crusades, of God and grenades, of walking on water and giant slayed, of kingdoms and pawns and colonial games, now a headline story every decade. With talk of peace, but still too much picking up the pieces between missile strikes and rocket releases. Judea, Palestine, Eretz Israel, they came for heaven, but they only get hell. Of love thy neighbor as thyself, but the olive branch has been placed too far back on the shelf. The land of shalom and salam has seen too many bombs amongst the palms. We need more pragmatic leaders to preach for calm and speak of a future more in line with the Psalms to reach tikkun olam. I see a day when two people can live side by side, each with dignity and pride, because the right leaders amplify that security and prosperity and peace have to coincide, and that hatred has to subside if your children have any chance to thrive. There is no from the river to the sea. Spare me that philosophy of atrocity where more bloodshed is all we'll see. The Jews have already had a genocide, so any talk of our demise is no starting place for compromise. The path to peace is clear to me. Two sovereign states with democracies where all are free, no more autocracies, building parallel futures of opportunities with communities where all agree that the other isn't the enemy and has a right to just plain be. No more 48, 67, or 73. Don't take it from me. This is already a plea from the majority. But it's the extremists with all their vehemence and almighty allegiance that make us believe this is a battle for eternity. I understand the promise of the promised land, a promise made from God to man, from Adonai to Abraham, a covenant through an exam. To kill his son was the command, but spared him when he saw the ram and set in stone the master plan. And within that sacred promise, we now find all the ties that bond us, that magnetic force in our collective conscience when chosen was bestowed upon us. From the patriarchs in the caves, Abe, Isaac, and Jacob, from Moses to Saul, Judah to David, and all the women that made them greater. No matter how much they were hated, subjugated, or even invaded, they found a way to keep that flame lit. For the vision of Herzl that paved the way for an old new state where next year in Yerushalayim became more than a saying, and the diaspora could aim to find their way in the place they created. They could rejuvenate it and find refuge in the only place that saved them, turn the arid desert into an oasis for anyone who lived there to find homeostasis. They worked the land and learned to drain it. They broke their backs and tried to train it. They planted trees and fruits and grains, and year by year they saw the gains despite the heat and lack of rains, and kept on going without complaint. They found the strength to just maintain it so that 2,000 years were not in vain, and once again, our people remain. We remain because you exist. Your existence provides our existence, which is indigenous, despite the endless opposing resistance who somehow like to get it twisted with assistance from all these hypocrites that lob ignorance from a distance, when open ears would do a lot more than clenched fists. A nation that enables the preservation of future generations when nowhere else was a safe haven for self-determination. For a population that was rounded up for concentration, families separated from shtetls to trains, from ghettos to slaves, and suffocated in chambers and sent to their graves because of unchecked racism, and the whole world was trying to erase them, and when they couldn't negate them and they could only displace them, they go back to where their DNA takes them because Zion is what shaped them, and that spirit will never escape them. You are a motherland of milk and honey. You are a fatherland of people who are tired of running. You are a bridge from the past to the future so that we are still becoming. I have breathed you in. I have felt that warm air engulf my skin to understand strangers who are more like kin, even if you'll never see them again. It's that feeling of amen. I have been mesmerized by your Masada sunrise, which defies the limits of the skies right before your very eyes. I have been breathless at the silhouette of Jerusalem's golden sunset, where heaven and earth sing a duet over the hills and the minarets. I have played in your sand in Tel Aviv and bathed in your mud by the Dead Sea, where nothing survives, in stark contrast to remind you that you are still alive. I have climbed up your ancient fortress and heard the chorus of the warriors who came before us as they echoed out over the Judean desert while the Romans came to destroy us. I have climbed down staircases of history, each step a century of a prior ancestry, but all the same family tree buried far beneath those city streets. I have wandered through Machaneh Yehuda, and the only thing I can conclude is that the smells that are exuded travel through you to renew you. I have been with my wife to the gardens in Haifa. The colors give life a feeling that's never been brighter. I have been to the vineyards and picked from the vine, tasted millennia with each sip of wine. I have been tickled by your pink mountains and gaped at your green valleys, traversed through stalactites and stalagmites, too many to tally, still forming without any finale. I've gleed at the glisten of the Galilee and marveled at the majesty of the Mediterranean Sea, the same shores that saved my family when Morocco was no guarantee. I've watched the waves seduce the rocks in a love affair at the grottos of Rosh HaNikra. But most of all, I have heeded the call of the Wailing Wall, those last temple remnants that didn't fall. I have stood in awe within my shawl. I have placed my palm upon its sprawl and felt it kiss me back with the ball of all the lips of those who wished to witness it, of those who couldn't visit it because they never got that ticket. They never got to scratch that itch, not even for a minute, because it was prohibited. Their destinies were limited by an exile, a pogrom, a Holocaust. Yikada v'yikada shemei rabbah, but it is not lost. It still stands tall. And within its cracks, both large and small, holds the wishes of humanity's biggest draw. Shalom, salam, and peace to all. So tonight, as the stars pierce that evening sky and the children sleep and the crickets cry, don't lie awake with restless sigh, but dream of the day we recognize that highest symbiotic prize of peace upon the mountainside. That's pure and enduring and bona fide because it's when, not if or why. It can all be achieved if two sides try. And until that day is crystallized, we're dreaming with you right in stride. With hope, Hatikva, as our guide. Our nation lives. I'm Yisrael.